fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Brayden Johnson.
Unbelievable finish!
It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air, we are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe. For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Let's get that blood boiling on those short track tempers flaring as we do battle at the last great Coliseum. It's Bristol Motor Speedway hosting round 8 of the NASCAR iRacing Series live right here on the iRacing Esports Network and brought to you by SimSpeed TV. The very roots of American stock car racing can be found on the short tracks. They are the true breeding ground for NASCAR's future stars, and they breed a style of racing that is not only fun to watch, but a catalyst for drama. Take a good look at your cars, fellas, because they're not going to come back without a scratch. If they do, you weren't trying hard enough. Commentary for tonight, as always, myself, Ryan Jones, and a pleasure to have Justin Prince back alongside of me today. Behind the scenes is, of course, Jay Kennedy as well. Justin, this race is going to be wild. We have to expect cautions, controversy, and drama. It's all part of the course when we come to Bristol.
It's such a very difficult track here at this circuit, Ryan, because it's a track known for its attrition, its difficulty to pass, and mind you, its chances of big ones, especially on cold tires. Today's going to be a very interesting race here on this half-mile circuit, 0.8 kilometers the distance of this racetrack, because these competitors, it's going to be important to start up towards the front, I think, Ryan, because 250 laps, yes. It's going to be important, though, based on what has been seen in the past here at Bristol, to make sure you don't lose your track position all night.
Most certainly. Other issue is, though, with Bristol being a half-mile racetrack and 37 cars on it, Justin, is lap traffic is going to play a factor today. And when you catch a group of cars as the race leader who are running side by side fighting for their own position, and don't forget there's no blue flags in NASCAR, it's easy to lose a lot of time and even the lead of the race from it. So even when you have that track position, you don't really have it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very important to make sure you keep your car clean throughout the night. Yes, there's going to be a lot of bumps and scrapes as the night continues, but the cleaner the car, the more speed you'll have likely for the checker flag this evening. It's going to be interesting to see how these drivers approach this racetrack tonight, Ryan.
Certainly is, and the racetrack itself, well, we often see a few different lines being taken at Bristol. In real life, they put down the PJ1 compound on the bottom of the racetrack to increase the viability of that line. Here in iRacing, don't have it down, not yet, at least anyway. The top of the racetrack is king and paramount this week from what we've seen, which means passing is going to be difficult. As soon as you get down to the bottom, if you don't complete that move straight away, you're going to get stuck down there. And if there's a whole host of cars lined up behind, very easy to get shuffled all the way to the back.
Absolutely. It's very important to take calculated decisions when it comes to your passes tonight, because just running the bottom can lose you a couple tenths on the short run alone. It used to be the line that you used to save tires. Now it's the line where if you are stuck down on it in a train of cars with them behind you, you're likely going to lose all the positions because you have to let off the gas so much to make sure you don't drift up into that top line. So I can see a lot of these competitors tonight trying to force their other drivers here to the bottom, or if they see any mistake, try to capitalize it, go for the slide job immediately to the apex, and going from there.
Qualifying is just wrapping up now for this session. Top split of Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time slot for this series. Been fantastic every single week. It never fails to disappoint. There's been drama, there's been controversy. It's going to get crazy today. This is how they'll line up for the start of 250 laps at Bristol. Harrison Lyon to put it on pole. Malik Gray starts from second. PJ Sturgis and Will Norton line up off row 2. Then comes Ryan Doucette and James Wenzel, 5th and 6th. JD Willis and Jake Matheson off row 4. Seth Knoll, Garrett Maines running out the 10.
Lakewood starts at 11 tonight after a 14.635 in qualifying. He'll start alongside Max J. Cookson. Joshua Campbell starts off in row number 7 alongside Caden Honeycutt. Robert Miller and Patrick Moose start in row 8 with Adam Jocelyn and Justin Levine in row 9. Rounding up the top 20, 2 teammates, Michael Jeans, Austin Yarborough.
Wesley Pistol, 21st. Colin Keister alongside Jordy Lopez Jr. and Brennan McKissick. Off road 12, Michael Guest and Devin Morgan, 25th, 26th. Jose Solis Jr. and Timu Toika from row 14. Justin Patello, Chris James starting in the back end of the top 30.
Rest of the field, Tanner Love looking to avenge what could have been last week at Texas in this broadcast at that track. He'll start deep in the field 31st, Jared Mogart 32nd, Kyle Crump 33rd, Pedro Miga 34th, Josh Downing and Kevin Morin Jr. round out the 36 drivers set to attack Bristol.
Talk about that from last week. That's going to be one of the talking points today. Has it been settled between J.D. Willis and Tanner Love? We saw the drama with about 30 to go, with Willis turning him from the lead of the race. See whether Love's got anything to say about that today. Race conditions for these drivers, it's 42 degrees out on the racetrack. It's 2 p.m. for the green flag time in sim time. As we've said, 250 laps ahead of us.
Yep, fairly hot racetrack today. The winds shouldn't be too much of a factor around this circuit today, but I think you have to put a circle around that mostly cloudy sky portion of race conditions, because that will mean the track conditions might potentially change a lot. Usually this racetrack heats up fairly quickly as the rubber builds on down. However, those clouds might have the possibility of swinging the temperatures a lot during the caution flags today.
Yeah, exactly right. That's something great about iRacing simulation. It includes the weather. So you get the fluctuations out on the racetrack like you would get in real life, and be very interesting to see how these drivers go about it today, how their pace changes. And look at that, a great front row we've got for us. Harrison Lyon, he's been fast almost every race we've seen. Malik Gray starting second, and Malik has been involved with helping Kyle Busch get accustomed to iRacing, hasn't he? And he's running the Rowdy Energy paint scheme livery as well, so it'd be fantastic to see how Malik goes. I wonder if Kyle's out there watching and seeing how he goes. Will Norton and PJ Sturgis behind Norton's been involved in almost every broadcast. Sturgis we haven't seen, but he's got a lot of pace as we come through, and we will get this one underway. Pace car dives down at a turn number 4. Harrison Lyon gets us underway. Green flag in the air here in Bristol.
And a good start, and Lyon doing immediately what he needs to do. Get up to that top side and protect that said line. Many of the drivers, though, if you start up on them, might go back.
Sturgis got sideways, clipped Norton up into the fence. They keep on going, but Norton a fair bit of damage, in fact, to his right side. And Norton, those cold tyres, he was coping fine. Sturgis, though, he got caught out, Justin.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He tried to slide up a little in the middle line. You can potentially build up a bit of speed there, but now the damage is going to definitely hurt him a little bit down the straightaways. Not so much in the corners here, but already the top 2 have just taken off and run away because of all the fighting amongst this top 5.
And Doucette goes by Will Norton as a result of the damage potentially. He's going to have to adjust to how that car's handling now. Jake Matheson will go by as well. A little bit more contact for Will Norton, so he's struggling just a little bit to fire off early here. That damage probably not helping him as everyone's still jostling to position, and this is short track racing at its best. You've got to find a way by. You can't get stuck down on that bottom side of the track very quickly. Harrison, Lyon, and Madley Gray are going to get to the back of this field.
Yeah, already pulling away times we weren't expecting here too much. But you have to remember, those particular drivers involved with Coca-Cola teams. Ray, of course, in the race. Lyon as well in the race. Caution is out.
That's an incident on the front straight, or the back straightaway. Adam Jocelyn's gone around. Not actually much damage to his car. I think we've got a crash here from a spin where he's just about managed to keep it off the fence. So, caution comes out for the first time. 8 laps into this race. We'll take a look at your modem simulation replay. Up against the fence, almost 3 wide, gets hit, goes for a big rotation, and does a great job to avoid the fence.
And some of the drivers back there are lucky they didn't get involved there with the DeFossi racing machine turn around there. Just had a bad deflection off the wall, overcooked the corner apex, came back down right across the nose, and many other competitors are lucky they didn't have any damage involved in that one. But this brings us to a good point here for the first time today, Ryan. Remember, these drivers have to go the full length of the pit lane under caution.
Yeah, almost half a mile doing the very slow pit lane speed, which is very frustrating as a driver when you just want to pin that throttle. And there's no speed limiters, of course, in a stock car. You've got to hold it. If you put it in second gear, the green lights will come on when you're doing exactly the speed limit. So you have got that visual guide for you, but it's all down to your throttle control. These drivers are all very good at their control with the throttle. Being in this top split, Seth Knowles opted to stay out on the racetrack as everyone else comes down. Garrett Maines, the first car off pit lane. 2 tyres, that's why.
And a few drivers, Ryan, actually taking 2 tires as well. Honeycutt also taking 2 tires in that strategy call. And this is to be expected. We only ran about 10 laps or so. That's within the optimal window to try and make 2 tires work. Yes, you'll be tighter, but it gets you good track position. We did, however, of course, see 2 drivers stay out, the 20 of Knoll, as well as Austin Yarborough, as others electing to repair significant damage from some of their contact with the wall and sacrifice the track position early.
Yeah, that looks like Will Norton there, and the Norton Racing Design machine, that front right, got destroyed by that contact up into the fence. It was relatively typical of a incident here at Bristol, but unfortunately, tore up that car quite a bit. So, Noel and Yarborough will be off the front row here on their old tyres, 10 or so laps on them, and Garrett Maines on 2, Lyon and Ray on 4 behind them. Let's see how it all unfolds here as we get ourselves back underway. Green flag back in the air once more, and a good jump there for Seth Knoll. Immediately trying to get to the top of the track, but Yarborough keeping his nose there and not able to go up top is Seth Knoll. Clears him there through 3 and 4. Contact behind.
And Ray lucky to save it off of turn 4. That could have been a massive one, but he's not out of it yet. He's still got to find a hole to get back up to the top line. There's not a lot of space to do so.
Finds himself a spot on the bottom side of the racetrack. But as you say, he's got to get up top. Otherwise, he's going to keep losing positions. It was a great save from Malik Ray with that contact. And also from Caden Honeycutt, who was sideways at the top of the racetrack. So I suppose they must have been the two that made contact with Stay Green. Malik Ray's got a lot of work now to get towards the back, to get himself back towards the front of this field.
Yeah, and already the caution flag is out once again. 2 more cars stopped at the bottom of the racetrack. Timo Toyka, Josh Downing in trouble this time.
And again, minimal damage to both cars. Take a look at the replay. Timo Toyka always seems to be a fan favourite. What's going on for him? On the bottom of 3. And, oh, that's a odd incident from that angle.
Yeah, that's the bottom of 2 actually coming off the corner there specifically, but it just looked, this is something you can potentially do on the bottom of the racetrack. He had just clipped the apron, mind you, the lap before to heat up the tires a little bit, but because he tried to get the bottom to work, you see that little bobble? His car set up to be a bit loose on that line, too loose for him, and 35 has nothing to do but stop to avoid significant damage.
Great job there to avoid making the contact. Malik Ray's come down into pits to get some fresh boots. He'll have to go in for his big old slide around the corner. He'll have to cycle all the way to the back of the field. Will Norton gets the lucky dog, will get back on the lead lap. Going a lap down at Bristol is less of an issue than it is at other tracks because of how often cautions come out, how frequently there's opportunities to get back a lap or so. We've seen drivers in real life come from multiple laps down to almost and even sometimes win the race. So going a lap down, not the be all and end all that it is on other tracks.
Yeah, I agree with you on that notion, but here's the difficult part though when it comes to Bristol Motor Speedway because of how short this racetrack is in terms of size and how quick the pace laps are, about 45 seconds at the very most. If you get major damage here, Ryan, you're not going to have too much time to get it repaired. Maybe 30, 40 seconds, give or take, each and every caution flag. So it's something where if you've got damage, do you risk going a lap down or multiple laps down to fix all of it and make sure you have as quick as a car as you can? Or do you fix it every single caution flag? That's one of the things you have to weigh as a driver.
Yeah, I think it depends on where the damage is. If you've got stuff flapping about at the front of your car, you're going to be worried about the engine performance of your machine. You're going to want to get it all repaired. But if you just got damage to the right or the left or to the back of the car, go back out there because damage on a short track and at Bristol is not as disastrous as, say, Michigan, where it's a massive 2-mile racetrack at high speed, where aero downforce are king. On this track, it's more about the driver than anything. Having a clean car definitely helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps, yes, but it's such a rhythm track here at Bristol because it takes a lot of years of practice to get this track right, for preferences, to make sure you get your throttle points right, your lines right. That can all be very difficult here. We'll have to see how these cars go coming to the green flag this time.
Top 2 remain unchanged. Lyon and Main's back on road 2 now. Green flag in the air once more. Better jump there for Knoll, able to immediately clear Austin Yarborough. Lyon trying to slide up in front of Mains, but the hole not going to exist for him. And he's going to have to be careful here because Jake Matheson is tucked up right on the back of that number 2 car, and Lyon's going to probably go backwards here unless he can find something on that inside line where he is going to find a slow car. The number 35 gets by him without much issue.
Yeah, Josh Downey's really going to make things interesting here already, but already many of these drivers getting to that perfect line up on that middle to top line around this racetrack. The only guy that's making the bottom work so far, I think, has been Lyon. You remember, these drivers, if you were involved in the Coca-Cola Series competition and competitors, you practice all of this. You practice to make sure you get your setup right to a T. Lyon looking like his car a bit different from what we've seen from the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series event this past Tuesday.
Learning from that, potentially wasn't happy with it in the long run on that race. Maybe making some adjustments for this one, of course. Not only the drivers, but everyone else in this field. They're in teams, a lot of them, that are involved in that series. So a lot of people are probably running setups that were used in that race. So,
and don't forget too, in that point, Ryan, pardon me there, remember some of these organizations too have been helping out the drivers for the Pro Invitational. Slip Angle, for example, has been helping out drivers like Jimmy Johnson in their competition. The Conquistador just cannot get going. One of those pro drivers with trouble.
And again, keeping it straight. That was Colin Keister, Joshua Campbell that almost had a tangle there. Down on the bottom side of the track. Campbell will lose out to Chris James as a result of that. Looking behind, here comes Malik Ray. Trying to find a way through. Caution's going to come out again. You can see the incident on the top of the track. Malik was coming in hot there as a spun car down to the inside as well.
And that was PJ Sturgio's there who thought he was clear, I think, and just came up across the nose line of Patrick Moose. I think that replay's going to show it night and day here.
That's Sturgis down to the bottom. The number 10 car coming up out of the corner. Ooh, no room for you there. Gets turned into the fence. Somewhat unsurprisingly collected by the number 3, it looks like. Jordi Lopez Jr. And he might have some rather performance-affecting damage with that contact. The engine probably taking a bit of a knock there. Here's the onboard from him.
And that's one of the Horizon drivers here who had no time to stop and immediately pulled the ejection cord for a moment. Lucky to not get hit a second time, but either way, that is potentially a ton of engine damage to the front of his Toyota Camry.
What happened to Sturgis there? When we get into a longer green flag run and the leaders come back through the field and they're, racing in and around a whole pack of cars, that's what they've got to be careful of. Because that can happen so easily. A crash happens in front, you can't avoid it. I mean, we saw it last week at Texas. Brendan McKissick taken out from the lead of the race by an incident ahead of him with lapped cars. At Bristol, that risk amplified 10 times.
Grant Bowen actually had the exact same thing happen here just a couple days ago, where there was a wreck on the back straightaway at the back of the pack. By the time he was coming around, car came down the racetrack and he plowed into our competitors after having one of the cars to beat in that event early on, Ryan. So it's such a major thing that can happen here with how quick the laps are and how much you need to be on throttle potentially at some points of the racetrack. It's really risky. Speaking of risky, Garrett Maines with a risky call in the Bobby Dale Earnhardt Legacy Esports machine, staying out.
They haven't done that many laps on this set of tyres. Maines came down on that first pit stop, didn't he? Interesting call.
Yep.
We'll see how it goes for him. Track position is going to be really important. Austin Yarborough looks like he has got himself a speeding penalty. He's having to cycle all the way to the rear of this field down there on the apron, so disappointing for him. Luckily, it is lap 33 of 250, so plenty of time for him to still make his way back through the field here.
Yeah, indeed, especially with some of the drivers at the back part of the field. As long as he keeps the car clean, it's going to be, I think, okay for Yarborough and his spotter, Dustin Johnson. But I'm curious again to see how Garrett Maines does here. He does have a development deal, mind you, with Richmond Raceway Esports, a part of their esports development program. Him and Raja Karuf, the first 2 members of that program, Ryan, in the past couple weeks or so.
Well, I did not know that, but that is fantastic news for Garrett there and for the other driver involved. Sorry, I didn't quite catch his name.
Roger Karuf.
Roger Karuf, yeah. Fantastic for both Garrett and Roger, which is, that's a gateway for them potentially into a Coca-Cola Series with that team potentially, and even into other events. Who knows where it can lead, but both those drivers very fast. We've seen Garrett week in, week out, running this time slot. He's always been at the front. Incidents have put him back sometimes, but he's got pace. He's back up front again. What can he do with it? Green flag.
Good launch for him, bad launch for some of the others. The 12 machine really spun the tires. That was Wenzel, who really held out the bottom line. Everyone else, though, busy fighting for second position, including some of the teammates.
Doucette on the bottom of the track. Seth Knoll up top. Matheson right in behind on that number 20. Nowhere for him to go as Doucette almost up into the side there of Seth Knoll. Got to be careful on the bottom that you don't drift up, as Caden Honeycutt went for a bit of a drift coming off the corner there, just in the background, lost the rear end, now finds himself stuck on the bottom. Doucette finds a hole up top as Cookson goes on by Honeycutt.
Yeah, and a smart move there for Caden Honeycutt to get his way to the top, but trouble again for Ray, again to the bottom.
That car not liking the setup. Something for Ray. That's the second time we've seen that issue, and he's not a driver. He often expects to make mistakes. As Tanner Love is working his way through the field. He's back in up to 23rd now after starting way back in the 30s for this one. So slowly making progress in that car. We'll see what happens when he gets to JD Willis in this one.
I'm very curious with some of these backups here as JD Willis is still in the 10th position. But Willis quietly having a decent run so far for the Nexus Esports machine. Just has to be patient here. Everybody's trying to stay up on this top side, waiting for one slip up, one difference in setup to allow them to get a run into the corner. Nobody's risking it quite yet outside of Malik Ray inside this top 20.
That's Austin Yarborough that is side by side with Yarborough as well. A fast car back in the field because of a speeding penalty in his case. So they both have a lot of pace. If they work together, they probably find their way forward. But at the moment, they're hampering each other, stuck side by side. And finally, Yarborough's going to clear Malik. Because look at that, great move in front. Joshua Campbell getting to the outside of Robert Miller. He just wasn't quite able to keep the car there, though.
Yeah, Malik Ray, I think, is going to have a problem here because Joshua Campbell is really on edge, it seems, at the bottom. Finally able to find the hole he's been waiting for. Problem is, no, he's now got a fellow Coca-Cola driver Colin Keister beside as the lead is up for grabs.
Side by side up front, Seth Knoll trying to take it away from Garrett Maines on the bottom side of the racetrack. Can he find the speed down low out of the corner? The run will come for Maines. They could be stuck in lockstep here for quite a few laps. Just behind is Jake Matheson in third. Knoll almost clearing him down on the bottom of the track. That's the fresh tyre advantage as Maines almost up into the fence. Knoll back to the lead.
Yeah, and Maines looking like he's starting to get tight. That's why these drivers are able to get around him on the bottom side. Maines has to let this car roll a little extra bit more, and that's even with the tire differential. That's opening up the possibilities for everybody else, and now a majority of the Nexus cars starting to move towards Cookson.
Doucette got a little hit from the left rear from Cookson. They both went for a slide that seemed to go for an eternity. They both held it. Checked up a lot of guys though. Harrison Lyon now on the bottom, and Justin Levine, Devin Morgan making a bit of nose-to-tail contact back there too. Whole host of cars all fighting in what is really the battle for the lead of the race here.
Yeah, all fighting for good positioning on the racetrack at this point. And mind you, remember, Garrett Maines is starting to slide at the start of this group and pushing on back in the field. You're going to get a little more slack if you have a teammate around you. And the caution again is out.
Third one of the day. That's Tanner Love, stationary on the track, stranded in the middle. Gets himself going again. That rear bumper, non-existent on that car. Now, if the damage model is accurate, that shouldn't be an issue because we saw that for, who was it? Kyle Busch, a year or two ago at Bristol. He drove right back through the field.
Believe it or not, I've seen some drivers have that work, but here's what doesn't work. Hitting the outside wall off the corner. That time, Love, he just went almost straight like he misjudged the corner exit. and just ended up pinballing across everybody else. He ends up getting the worst of it, I think, here. Is see right here, just he seems to straighten up right here instead of completely straight and taps the wall.
Yeah. Looks like a misjudgment on his part. Essentially a lack of concentration. But in the end, he finds himself getting ping-ponged back and forth and sideways on the track. So, race leaders will come down onto pit road. Doubt anyone will take a gamble. That was almost the longest run we've had into this race so far. Everyone diving down into the lane.
And this is a situation where you have to take 4 tires and fuel at this point with how many laps have been on the board. They're still outside the fuel window, remember, Ryan. The most amount of fuel these drivers were projected to go for in the pro race, about 140-ish. You can maybe push it to 150, but you don't want to risk it if you're many of these drivers.
Yeah, 100%. They're still not in the fuel range if we, well, somehow went green to the end of the race. Every little bit of fuel helps. Every bit of tyre grip helps. We saw that with Garrett Maines. He wasn't able to hold off Seth Knoll or, in fact, Matheson, and he was on the top side of the track, the good side of the track. So, fresh tyres are very important as the race off pit road is very tight. Seth Knoll wins it by about a bumper over Matheson.
Good pit exit that time again. Seth has been looking pretty strong so far, but the gamble for Garrett Maines, I think, might have worked out in his favor. Yes, he wasn't as quick as the others there, Ryan, but he got the caution he needed before he started losing valuable track position. And now, guess what? He's gone from what was a run inside the top 15 up to 3rd position. He's still going to be on the bottom side, which is going to be a problem, but it's much better than being behind a lot of the air competitors.
100%, and often that's something that people lose sight of. When they see someone stay out on a caution or take 2 tires on a caution, they say, what are you doing? Are you going to cause a crash? You shouldn't have done that. You're not going to win. The goal sometimes isn't to try and lead the race or win the race. It's to gain an advantage on where you were. So if you're running 20th and you stay out, you're now 1st. If you make it 10 laps and you're now 7th and a caution comes out, everyone comes back to pit road, that's a big advantage for you. That's goal accomplished.
Exactly, and you also have to think about this too, depending on how things cycle. You already have one driver in Kyle Crump taking the wave around to the 1-to-go signal. This is also a situation where, say you're a lap down and have repaired most of your damage, and are not in a lucky dog position, it's your chance where if it goes caution, precaution, like it has usually gone in Bristol in terms of its history in NIS competition, you have your lap back and a chance to gain a lot of positions in the next few minutes or so.
100%. JD Willis copping a black flag as well down on pit road, so he's going to go right to the back along with Tanner Love. See how that goes. Pace cars out of the way. We're back underway. Ooh, fantastic start from Matheson up top. He stayed even with Knoll for quite some time. Eventually dropped back though in one of the gear changes there. And they're side by side from 3rd and 4th. Very tight between Doucette and Cookson.
A lot of dicing and wheeling for drivers wanting the top, and my goodness, that could have been bad. Cookson really got a bit squirrely on the cold tires on that top line.
Certainly did. Got a tank slapper coming down the straightaway, held onto it, and Doucette now with a bit of a slide down low. He will go backwards. Devin Morgan will round him up around the top side. Caden Honeycutt in line as well as Doucette tucks in behind Honeycutt. He's got room to go up top, and that's exactly what he is going to do, slotting in front of Justin Levine.
And these drivers are just, I think, trying to settle themselves into a decent rhythm, get into the top line, then focus on trying to make moves after that. Wetzel, he's now in a situation where he's got to find the top line. Jose Salas might give it to him. I don't think Wetzel realizes what's going on here. Take a look at this in comparison to everybody else around him in this field at this point, Phil. Some of these drivers are slowly trying to rubber in the bottom line, it seems here, Ryan.
Yeah, I think you're right. They are trying to get that bottom to work, and if they can get it working and rub it in by the end of the race, we'll see a fantastic fight for the lead if we get a late caution, because you'll be able to run side by side and be pretty even down there on the low side. So some of the more experienced drivers trying to make it happen at the moment.
Yeah, and here's the thing to think about that. If you can get the middle to bottom line to work as a setup builder, that's such a major advantage, because in the past few years at Bristol, drivers and organizations have aimed for that because you can save tires better, Ryan, on that line. You ride all the way on the top line the whole way around, you end up burning the right front. That's why some drivers are going to try this line here throughout the day, I think, here, and see if they can get it to work like it did with the higher downforce package in last year.
Of course, new package for this year for the short tracks. More power, less downforce. That's another reason why we're seeing a lot of cars getting sideways, because they haven't got as much grip on the rear end as we saw last year at the short track. So there's also that to consider in all of this as well. Of course, they've had plenty of time to test it. They've already seen it at Phoenix earlier in the year as well. So nothing new to these drivers by this stage.
Yeah, dirty air is still a major factor a bit on the short tracks, yes, but also when it comes to Bristol, the bottom line isn't as good as it was before. It might work for a few laps for a lot of these competitors. We're seeing this here with some of these drivers already. Seth, though, I think is the best example of it with the race lead for how you get the bottom line to work, because he's started at the bottom. He's able to get that line. Yes, it loses a couple tenths in the short run, but in the long run, you can pick up an extra couple tenths. See how much he's just able to get that middle right along the edge of the progressive banking to then ramp it down and get down to the bottom of the racetrack to carry momentum off the corners.
Trying, not quite close enough yet. Edging closer and closer with each passing lap. Eventually he'll be close enough to lunge it by as Caden Honeycutt trying exactly that. Further afield, back in 7th place, all over the back of Devin Morgan in front. Max Cookson just off the front nose of Morgan's car. Honeycutt almost up into the fence there, right in behind Morgan. Very hard to see the right-hand side of the racetrack when you're tucked right up behind someone's rear spoiler. Bit of an issue with a track where you're constantly tucked up behind someone.
Yeah, it can be a little bit, but it's not too much of an issue, I don't think, here. What is an issue, though, here is Matheson has lost the top, and just as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, if you can get your quarter panel alongside the right rear corner panel and take away the line, like Lyon did, that might open up the door for potential position losses.
Fantastic job from Lyon. That's why you're going to be very careful about where you're running on the track. If you're in the position that Matheson was, you've got to stop the car behind from getting to your outside. You've got to run it as high as you can while still keeping the speed up. Didn't quite nail it there. So Lyon's up into 2nd. See if he can chase down Seth Knoll. Lead in the race. The margin is about 0.3 of a second between them at the moment.
I'm going to be very curious now about the lap times. Seth is still the quicker of the two drivers, but look at how Yarborough's been able to cut his way back to the field. He's in the middle of a battle, yes, back and forth with White trying to battle on that bottom side, but Yarborough has worked his way from deep in the 20s back inside the top 10 after a speeding penalty just about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, Yarborough pulled a great slide job on Blake Witt there to make that move, and now Witt trying to fend off James Wenzel up top, who is going to take it away. He's got the top side. He's got a bit of draft from Yarborough as well. Of course, that's minimal here on a short track, but it still helps. Maybe a fraction of a tenth.
Yeah, a little bit. It's not too much of an issue as long as you don't make suspension damage in a race car. If you get suspension damage, that's where the problem definitely can potentially lie. But lap traffic is going to be a major problem here because these drivers, it could be very, very difficult to get around this traffic. It'll be interesting to see if the drivers elect to stay on the bottom side, where a lot of these competitors I think are going to prefer it be, or if they're forced to the bottom themselves, where that might lose but drivers' leads like it did in pro competition a couple days ago.
We watched the battle for the lead and we talk about it because There's no blue flags in NASCAR. We've spoken about that before. If you're in a battle, you're going to want to stay up top. You don't want to go down low and lose time if you're a car about to get lapped. So, you know, you stay up top and the leaders have got to find a way by you. So it is something that will cause a bit of drama if we stay green here, because Seth Knowles got Harrison Lyon right behind him. And if these two get side by side and they catch a couple lapped cars side by side, Harrison Lyon, though, trying to get to the outside of Seth Knowles, and he's done it. That is a fantastic move. But there is a lapped car right in front. That's Wesley Pistol. Seth Knowles going to just tuck back in line as they make their way by the first lapped car of the day.
And that worked out perfectly for Lyon, I think, in that situation, to just make the move before you reach the lap traffic. Know you've got a quicker car by about half a tenth of a second or more, and just make the move. Then, you can see right here, the lap traffic's working exactly how we hope. He has one driver choose the high side, has an error choose the bottom side, and now the rest of his competitors don't know where they need to go.
Yeah, and Seth Knoll, or rather Matheson, caught Knoll by quite some margin when he was trying to get by Wesley Pistol. He finally got around him, but he certainly closed in that margin up there. And that's just two cars that they navigated. Right up in front of them is a pack of 4 drivers that are all battling away. So it's only going to get tougher. Caution's out, though, not going to be an issue. That is James Wenzel, who's run into dramas, damage to that car. Robert Miller involved as well.
And that was craziness in that portion of the field. 8th on back. I think this all really started, though, where the short track ace Devin Morgan tried to go for the slide job off the corner and get up to the top side. Problem is, faster car had momentum. Everyone else is checked up, and around goes the drivers.
Right in the middle of that pack, and Michael Guess getting hit late there. It's James Wenzel that got turned sideways in front of everybody there. And as you say, that was a bit of craziness. Looks like that's Brendan McKissick in that as well. Surprised it didn't involve more cars, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, that could have been much worse. Yeah, a few got lucky, to say the very least. I think McKissick got very lucky, for example, in that situation. But 2 Coca-Cola Series drivers now with significant damages now. Keister and Guess both involved. And now this is going to cycle everybody into the pit lane. Should note that Jeans does have a front nose crushed in, so he's been pitting every second lap. Jared Mogart has also been electing to pit the second time around with some damage.
Everyone in pit lane. Harrison Lyon wins the race off. JD Willis rolls out of pits in second. 2 tyres must have been for Willis there to find that big of an advantage. He didn't stop.
Yeah, it looks like he might have missed his box, just overran it, and now that's going to be killer. If I was Willis, I'd come down this time by, because if he stays on these old tires, it might be disaster for him because of how tricky it is to make restarts on old tires. That's exactly what he's doing right here, it looks like.
Yeah, I was going to say it might be a disaster for him and for a lot of people around him too. If he spins up those tyres or someone gets into the back of him because he's not as fast with the old tyres, it could be very messy very quickly. So he'll come down and have attempt number 2 at finding his pit bay. Around there on the back straight away, it looks like for him. So the leading few cars remain mainly unchanged. Wesley Pistol stays out to get his lap back. And then Lyon will have Matheson in second, and then Doucette and Maines. Where's Seth Knoll gone back to?
He stayed a full lap in to get damage repair, and this is going to actually bring the delayed green because he's still going to let some wave-around cars go who are coming out of the pit lane. But I think he might have damaged his right front fender a little bit in that green flag run. Elected to get all of it repaired, and then I think he didn't realize that the pace car was going to already pass him at that point and got the rest of it fixed on that right front. He's now all the way back in 31st, second car a lap down.
Yeah, well, he's got to find his way by Patrick Moose, who is the lucky dog car at the moment. Of course, lucky dog are being given to the first car a lap down, and they get a free wave around on the field. when a caution comes out, as long as they're not involved in the incident. So that's a fight we'll see plenty of as this race goes on, as more people go a lap down, as lights go out once again on the pace car. We will go back green this lap with Lyon and Matheson, your two guys on the front row for this one.
This is going to be fairly competitive here, I think. Lyon in a great situation, try and get the good launch. But he is surrounded by a decent chunk of Nexus cars that are scattered throughout this top 10.
We'll see how it plays out then, as we get ourselves back underway. The last great caller, see him, and a great jump from Harrison Lyon. Jumps out to the lead of the race very easily. Matheson will retain second as Mains and do battle here for third on the racetrack. Honeycutt and Cookson side by side behind them as well. 3 wide further back in the field for a moment there, as someone going backwards from the bottom side of the track.
That's Jose Solves Jr. stuck at the bottom and caught around.
That looks like Norton that might have gone around, certainly a similar livery, and it is Will Norton who has big damage to the front of that car.
I don't think he's going to be too happy with Chris James off this corner exit. Keep an eye, because James not only didn't go up to the wall, he actually bobbled even more down to the middle of the racetrack. Right here. Elects to keep it more in the middle, bobbles down, and hits his right front. Away goes Norton, and away goes the front bumper.
Yeah, big shame for Norton. See if we get a different angle of that. Or not. Because that was a very unfortunate thing for Norton there, but you have got to be careful of those sorts of things. As we go into caution once more, we'll go to a quick break here on the iRacing Esports Network. Don't go anywhere. We'll come right back to the restart here at Bristol.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson.
Unbelievable finish.
It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe. For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Ooh, welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway here in the NASCAR iRacing Series. Just ticked on to lap 100, 250, so we're almost halfway through this one already, going by very quickly despite the caution. Seth Knoll, slow on the track, gets himself back going. So we'll get one to go when we come back by the start-finish line here. No one pitted from the front few guys, so order remains unchanged.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, since this allows many drivers to keep their track position, obviously, but also the tires are warm by a few laps or so. That's much more better than starting on very cold tires. That causes a lot of the snap loose conditions we've seen after big pit stop sequences.
100%. Feel like we might be not far away from a long green flag run here as the drivers start to settle in the mid phase of this race. Let's see how we go as Harrison Lyon We'll jump on that throttle and get us back underway. Garrett Maines, a fantastic start from 3rd place there. He's going to put himself straight up into 2nd.
And what a start by Maines, sending it up to the top line. It looked like he sent line off like a curling rock on that corner entry to start this green flag start. Now the question's going to be, though, can Garrett take advantage of it with everybody else fighting?
Side by side, Doucette and Cookson. Doucette will clear him. Cookson needs to find a way to the top. He's got so many people stacked up on that high line behind him. Tries to get up in front of Justin Levine there, and he'll do it. Just about.
Yeah, some good fighting amongst the pack, but we have cars sliding in the back portion just behind the top 9. Timo Toika, who's worked his way to the top 10, nearly made things very chaotic.
Colin Keister got a bit loose down the bottom as well, trying to avoid all of that. Toika's done a good job to get himself back up into 10th place after being involved in one of the earlier incidents. As, again, people struggling here to get themselves pointed straight. Someone's gone around. Caution is back out on the track. Will Norton again.
And it's just not Will Norton's day, and it's because of absolute calamity in front of him, I think, here, Ryan, because not one, but 2 cars smacked the wall. Kyle Crump got the most loose, locked it down, and then collected Norton, who ended up bobbing around trying to avoid collecting anybody else.
Gotta feel bad for Norton. It's just not his day, is it? As we see it here coming through on the top side of the track. Everyone stacked up in front, and then the car sideways in his line. Nothing he can do about that, and very hard to save a car once it gets the wiggles on like that.
Yeah, he was trying as hard as he could. I think there... You've seen how much it went back and forth there, Ryan. The reason he was going back and forth was if he hooked it to the right or locked it down immediately, he would have collected a couple of drivers, including one of his teammates. So I think he just said, you know what, I'm going to hope I can stop it swinging to the left, and it didn't work for him. But another quick caution flag. By the way, new fastest lap set on that stint, Ryan.
Who by?
That was by Harrison Line, in fact, with a quick lap of a 14.794.
Well, the lap times are quick at Bristol, aren't they? So a lot of pace for Lyon then out front. Might be difficult for someone to get by him. He certainly looks like he's got one of the cars of the day at the moment, as we see the 17 rolling off pit road with a bit of a wheel spin there, exiting in style. Most of the leaders have opted to stay out once again. When you're only doing a lap or so in these stints, there is not too much point in coming down, because if you do, not many people are going to come with you. You're going to cost yourself so much track position, which you keep harping on about because it's so important here.
Yeah, that's why you see so many drivers try and hold on to that top line for tooth and nail. Yes, it can frustrate a lot of your competitors behind you trying to fight and knowing they might be a bit quicker, but the alternative is getting shuffled back to 15th position. So if you are up at the front, you're hoping to stay up at the front the entire day if you're drivers like Garrett Maines or anybody else throughout this field today.
Well, that is exactly what he will try to do. Whether it works for him, who knows? So many variables out there for these drivers, not only the people they're racing against, but the people that are a lap down. Should we get a long enough green flag stint again, there's still 29 cars on the lead lap. Tanner Love and Will Norton, both 1 lap down. Norton done well to keep himself only 1 lap off the pace. And there's a few retirements from this one already. Michael Guest played with James Wenzel, PJ Sturgis, and Jordi Lopez Jr.
Yeah, surprisingly still a lot of cars here, but at the same time, we do see a lot of beat-up race cars here at this racetrack. A lot of the clean ones are up at the front, should note, of course, but look back in the mid-portion of the field, there are a lot of bumped-in fenders at this point with how hard the racing's been at that point of the field.
The racing at the front is only going to get more frantic as well as the race draws closer and closer to its finish. Still not quite at halfway though, so no issues yet as another great restart from first and third. Harrison Lyon this time being followed by Jake Matheson. Something about that third place spot on these restarts is working well, but Matheson wasn't able to clear Maines. Maines drove his way back around the outside of him.
Here's the downside, though, of the decent start off, the jump on third position. It's not the top line, so if you don't get up there immediately with a good start, you immediately shuffle back, so you want to almost start second or fourth position rather than in third, fifth, or any position like that, or else you're going to fall right back anyway.
Matheson did a good job to stay in third after not getting up in front of Garrett Maines. He's got Doucette behind him. That's Honeycutt down at bottom, trying to find a way up top. Malik Ray has driven himself back up into 7th place now, and he should clean up Honeycutt, and he will, as Honeycutt dives back to the outside of the track, and Malik going to dive to the bottom of Max Cookson.
And Ray has been quietly coming back through this field, mind you, and still is trying to get that bottom line to work to get some of these passes done. I think Ray has been absolutely fighting hard. Here's the problem. He's lost the top line, can't get back up there unless he backs off and allows the ARCA Menard Series driver and Honeycutt to go.
And he will. Honeycutt will go by him on the top. Ray knows it's just better to tuck back in line and wait for his opportunity to come. He does seem to be running a slightly lower line, even when he has got no one on his outside through these corners, doesn't he? He's right in the middle of this racetrack here.
And I think that's on purpose. They're trying to make sure he doesn't burn up the tires like everyone else on the top line, in hopes that it works in about 20, 30 laps. That might be where the strategy, or line rather, he's taking might work out. It's just a matter of he needs the laps to go green.
He does. We'll see if it works. He's losing a bit of pace at the moment to Honeycutt. He's got McKissick in behind, and then comes a battle with Yarborough, Levine, JD Willis, Timu Tweaker, and co. Everyone does seem to be a little bit more restrained off this restart, settling in here for a decent run, it seems, which is good to see.
Yeah, and this is what we were expecting, though, Ryan, was eventually after about 50, 100 laps, we get this calm, cool, collected green flag run here to try and set the tempo, and then there was the chance of things...
Oh no, Cookson goes around, turned by Honeycutt in the end. Cookson, he got a bit loose up on the top of the racetrack, and as he tried to save it, he just drifted into the front right of Honeycutt. Around he goes.
Yeah, Cookson actually, I think, tapped the wall a little bit and then just lost the back end coming off of turn 4. It just went right across Honeycutt's nose. You'll see it right here on the modem simulation replay where that, like right here, he just loses the back grip and no time for Honeycutt to react.
Rather unfortunate for Cookson. He probably could have saved that. Didn't have a car to his outside, but
definitely
he did. To his inside even. Unfortunate. And the real issue there is we started talking about settling in for a green flag run, so they went and wrecked. Put the curse on them there, Justin.
Welcome to iRacing. All I can really say here, but here's the bright side. If you pit now, you can make it on fuel to the end.
And everyone is gonna know that, and they're gonna come into pit lane, led by Lyon, Maines, and Matheson. Everyone filters down into pit lane at a measly 56 kilometers an hour. Doing the whole pit lane at Bristol now. See if there's any changes down on pit roads as we look for the race off pit road in a moment's time. You expect everyone to take 4 tyres here, especially with the possibility of going to the end on this stint here. So, wouldn't expect any 2-tyre gambles, but you never know.
Not this early, not this early. Maybe at under 40 laps to go we start seeing more of those gambles again, or if we keep seeing short runs. But if you're coming down, you're taking 4 fresh fuel goods and launching off the pit lane now.
And top 2 remain unchanged to make that top 3, in fact.
And that's just the advantage, Ryan, there of the first pit stall. You seen Line just had to basically move 3-4 feet across the line. Boom, you come out as the race leader once again. Main's had a great pit stop sequence, mind you, too. And if Line was one pit stall back, that might have been a change in position alone there.
Yeah, on the racetrack, it is very beneficial being number one here at Bristol. Some other tracks, you still got to get all the way back up to speed. It's not quite as an advantage, but Bristol, it's massive, and that is the difference there for Lion. Going to be very helpful in his quest to retain the lead of the race down on pit road, or even take the lead away down on pit road if he comes in second or third even, as we make our way past half race distance, under 125 laps to go now in this one.
And that last run was, I believe, our longest run of the race. I'm expecting eventually, though, we see a 50-60 lap run, if we're lucky, to really set the tempo of this race and set things up. And that's where I'm curious to see who's got the best car on mid to long run, because the cars that are up in the front here, Ryan, are the cars who prioritize short run speed, and we're seeing that right now. Lots of Nexus cars that are always great at Bristol Motor Speedway. Some of the Bobby Dale Earnhardt Legacy Esports machines, they've worked away on short run speed up to the front. And a few others as well, having some good short run speed as well. I'm curious how many of these cars hold up on the long run.
Well, Mother Gray, I think it's going to be one to watch. Let's see then as Lion checks up the field. Green flag comes out. Everyone bunched up off this restart, 2x2, the whole field down into 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's a strategy. You might have hoped there might have been a little bit of wheel spin or a little bit of jumpage there. But here's the bright side to it. Stacks everybody up right into a battle. Yes, he's closer to the others, but they're too busy fighting each other to try and chase him down.
McKissick stuck on the bottom of Ray here. No area for him to move up into as that car got way out sideways there coming off the corner. He held onto that very nicely, but Levine will sweep on by. He's struggling as McKissick at the moment.
Yarborough right on by too. That car definitely not built to run on the bottom side on corner exit. Needs bottom to top potentially to be able to get the best run. That might be why it's so loose down there compared to when he was bottom, entry apex off essentially around this racetrack.
I think you're probably right. That car looking a lot better now that it's running its preferred line with no one side by side with him. Is speaking of preferred lines, I think the variation throughout the front 10 or so cars, everyone's got a slightly different line to take. Malik Ray probably the most notable difference, running halfway down the racetrack through most of the corners. It's right on board with Justin Levine looking at the back of that Rowdy Energy Camry.
Yeah, and you can see just that little different line trying to ramp it down, dime in the corner, trying to get a little extra bit of momentum off the corner. The problem is, though, Ray's just got nowhere to take any of the momentum, and it's not really working, and there's a checkup.
Whew, boy. Yarborough will go around to the outside of Levine. That was a little bit close. McKissick behind him there. Levine loses out a bunch of time from that. No separation at the front. Lyon's not got away at all. Garrett Maines is right there with him, settling in for the long haul. Matheson, Doucette, Honeycutt, all there. Linus Stern, side by side, further back in the field, though.
Yeah, that's set among some of the drivers trying to cut to the field. Cookson also trying to fight hard. He has been near side by side a lot. Car around down into turn 3, though. Kevin Morin Jr. in the 36.
That's Kenneth Morin Jr. that's gone around on the 36.
Yeah, he just ended up hitting the wall down the back straightaway. Just lost the focus off the corner exit and just bounced a couple times off the wall, endured love before he spun around and collected Michael Jeans, it looked like there. See, 1, 2, bang, 3, 4, car launched.
Michael Jeans as well in that one, so we go back under caution. This is the onboard from Jeans. Up on the top of the racetrack. There's the car in front. Where do you go? Nowhere that he can go.
Yeah, and just nothing you can do there with how quick that car bounced from the top to the middle of the racetrack. But a lot of mixed calls here, and Honeycutt is dropping to the back of the field, it appears here.
Interesting. Honeycutt will go backwards.
You know what, Ryan? He hit the yellow cone. He tried to go out with many of the leaders since they tried to stay out on the racetrack, but instead, he went and had an unsafe pit entry. Look at this right here. A lot of the drivers are going. Then a fake there by Mains. And Honeycutt, the problem is, he was too late on the fake, went on the left side of the cone, hit it, and that's why he dropped back.
So, penalty then for Honeycutt. And he has to go right on back in this one. Those are the things you've got to be aware of. You can't make those mistakes, and now he decides to come down the pit lane anyway. So, well, we'll see how it works out for Honeycutt. He's got James Wenzel down on pit road as well. So is JD Willis, Michael Jeans as well in pit lane. Unsurprising after the damage you got from that crash. Surprised that anyone thought about pitting there from the front.
I think it was more so a fake, though, Ryan, by Garrett Mains, because he was trying to catch some people off guard, maybe, get a couple drivers to commit to the pit lane. Instead, I don't think he was expecting a driver to accidentally hit the yellow cone by accident.
Yeah, well, who knows? Who knows what happens out there sometimes, but most of the field will sort themselves out, with most of the cars staying out on the racetrack.
And this has been an interesting race. Mind you, too, the back half of the top 10 is all double-digit position gainers in this field. Levine plus 12, Yarbrough plus 13, Keister plus 14, McKissick plus 15, Toy Cup about plus 18. That is astounding, Ryan, even for Bristol. That is happening. What's been happening behind line.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job, Timu Toika, up there in 10th place. 9th place even now, driving his way back up through this field. As we get ourselves back underway once more, it's a bit of a more normal restart for the field there as Lion jumps out to the race lead ahead of Garrett Mains.
And more contact behind them. Morgan had a little bit of a bobble off of turn 2. And now everyone's stacked on back behind some of these drivers in a second group.
Up front, Matheson is going backwards now to Set and Yarbrough on his outside. Malik Ray behind him on the bottom. McKissick up top. Ray finds a gap up high and slots in behind McKissick. Matheson, don't think he's going to find a gap though. He's in a bit of trouble here. He could go a long way back unless he gets some reprieve somewhere out there.
Well, he does have a teammate to his left side. The problem is McKissick's not giving him the space. If McKissick backs off, Ray might give him a shot. So Matheson is just stuck alone for the ride as he watches the real-world go-kart racer in Yarbrough pull away in that top 4 position.
Took McKissick a while to clear Matheson. Ray will do it almost straight away. Matheson sees a gap and puts himself in it. As Ray into the back of McKissick, turns him sideways. He holds onto it, loses a bunch of spots though. He just got into that left rear heading into the corner to Ray and turns McKissick sideways about as quick as he could go.
Yeah, just too much power from Ray on the corner entry to cause that. But now, on the bright side, McKissick still holds on to the top 10. Here's the downside, though, for that 20 machine to the bottom side. Remember, Seth? And he had to get some damage repair, fell a lap down. He was the car who hit the back end of Devin Morgan. He lost the front bumper, and now he's down a lot of straight line speed, at least 5-10 miles an hour.
Certainly is, look at that, going right on back there in the straight as Seth Knoll. And he's going to really struggle in this race, and being on the inside is not helping him. Still running around in 15th place though. We'll see how he goes the rest of this one. Austin Yarborough all over the back of Ryan Doucette there, almost giving him a shot down into the corners, harassing the back of that number 4 car. And once again, as with the last stint, everyone's line is stern at the front of the field here. Malik Ray slowly getting closer and closer. Now he's up into 5th.
And this might make it interesting off the corners because Yarborough really wants the diamond. Ray has been very committed to being right there. There's a chance they might come together if Ray gets a good enough run off the corner to get side by side and Yarborough can't react quick enough.
Be interesting to see what Malik does with his overtakes because he is running middle of the track. You would think he'd try to drive around the outside of him, but he's got a lot of pace, it seems, running a slightly lower line as he just made a mistake there. Had to cover off Matheson.
It looks like everyone's starting to work the way to the bottom line once again, but look what's happening up in front of them. Right rear corner panel taken away by Doucette to get side by side with Maines.
Drives it up and around the top side of the corner, takes away P2 from Maines. Doucette now looking at the back of Harrison line, trying to chase him down. Maines will go back to 3rd. He's got Yarborough now in behind. Side by side a little bit further back in the field. Who was that? That was Devin Morgan on the bottom with Justin Levine up top. Completes that move there.
Yeah, Levine having to get hard on to the brakes a little bit, get off the gas to make sure he didn't get in the back of Morgan here, but some of the pace is starting to come in. A lot of these cars, I think, Ryan, are about even in pace in the first 20 laps. Then we see the differences in how they're built past that point on the racetrack, and that's where you see a lot of these drivers try and make passes here. Yarborough might have just made a mistake, though, might have just given the top to Ray.
And he has. Ray gets to his outside. A bit of door-to-door contact between them. Down that straightaway. Matheson gets there as well. So Yarborough going to lose out a couple spots here. And Colin Keister just in behind, trying to take that right rear away. He will do so. Yarborough, one little mistake going to cost him 3, maybe even 4 spots. With Timo Toika lined up there as well. And you know what? He's going to take it away too.
Yeah, and Yarborough doing the smart thing right now, just getting back to the top side. Stop the bleeding before anyone else makes the dive, but give a shout out to Toika. My goodness, this is one of the best runs I've seen him do with this strong of a field in NIS competition in a long time. Usually I've seen him run on the short run, top 10 on the 1.5 miles. Haven't seen a performance like this in a while from him in this big of a field.
Doing a fantastic job at the moment. We'll see how well he continues to run as the race winds towards 250 as Ray starting to look at a way by Garrett Maines here. He gets to his inside. If he can run the middle of the track, that's where he seems to be fast in that number 51 car. Maines up top, Matheson behind. Matheson nowhere to go at the moment. He can't go to the inside of any of these guys. You can go 3 wide at Bristol, but it is incredibly risky. Too risky for lap 167. Ray clears him, moves up in front of him.
And Maines might not be happy too much about how close it was, but it was a necessary move for Ray to be able to try and get away. They lost about 2 seconds with that fight, and now it looks like the pace is falling off for Maines.
Yeah, Matheson drove on by, and Colin Keister as well on the bottom side. Timo Toika as well. Not working for Maines up top. Maybe just lost his rhythm or something else, because those tyres were suddenly dropped for him, and he goes right to the back of this train of cars, back in 7th place now.
I wonder if he burned up the right front tire. That's a major risk on the top. Caution, though.
JD Willis has gone around into that number 28. Orca spot on the track too to try and turn it back the right way. He goes a lap down. Modem Simulation will give you a replay here.
Yeah, and you'll see right up the road here. This is Pedro Miga in the 33 right in front of Willis. Hits the wall. Looks like a little bit of contact and then just bobbles him loose. And then Willis luckily locks it down, but ends up spinning a half spin as the caution comes out of the edge of the racetrack.
I thought that was the green flag run for us there. It was looking that way, but unfortunately, just a slight concertina effect and spins everybody, or spins JD Willis around, has checked everyone else up. Everyone's going to come down to pit road, you would suspect here, because been out there for quite some time on these tyres now, as this is the onboard from Carl Crump. Not much he could do to avoid getting into the back of Willis. Another good thing they added to Bristol a couple days ago, Justin, is Colossus. The big old TV screen in the middle. TV screens in the middle of the racetrack. You can see it there, and quite a feat, that. I read it's the largest sensor-hung outdoor screen in the world.
Yeah, that's Colossus, they call that here, and that is a new addition, mind you, on iRacing, just put in just yesterday, Ryan, at this racetrack. It's such a beautiful fixture of the circuit, and of course, remember, this track is hosting the Pro Invitational Series on FS1 and Fox in just a couple days or so, so good to see that make its addition to the circuit before the action continues.
Yeah, that's one of the good things, is TV has brought a lot of quality of life updates being brought to some of these televised race tracks, and Colossus, one of them. Good to see. Now we're just going to get PJ1 down on the tracks where it exists in real life. Now that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be very interesting if that did come its way to the iRacing service, but still anything can happen. All I can really say on that front, but anything can happen at the front here because Harrison Lyon has been dominant on short runs, and this race is continuing to go his way.
It is, but look who's found his way up into third. Malik Ray. And I get the feeling Ray has a lot more pace than he's shown so far. He's been bottled up in traffic for most of this one. He's had a couple incidents in this race, but he's seemingly channeling his new partnership with Kyle Busch and Rowdy Energy and driving that car to almost the same standard as Rowdy himself, driving back through the field a number of times already. Now he's up into third. If he can get himself into second and make a move on Lyon, what pace does he have once he gets into some clean air?
I'm very curious here because it's easy to catch up, I think. It's hard to pass. Absolutely hard to pass here at Bristol. So I'm curious to see if Ray can find a way to get his preferred line to work, because Lyon, I don't think, is going to make it any sort of easy for Ray to even have a chance. He's going to probably stay up at the top as much as he can, knowing its advantages, and force Ray to get the bottom to work here.
Let's see if the third place man gets a jump they had the last couple times. Yep, they will. Great start for Ray. Big checkup from Doucette. Checks up Matheson and Toyka up top.
Yeah, that was very, very strong on the start here with a lot of competitors caught sleeping in their caution.
Couple cars around. And lockstep there. Joshua Campbell and the number 30 as well. Both back-to-back on the track. Adam Jocelyn involved in a second incident of the day. We'll take a look at the replay and see what was the catalyst to this. Off the restart, that's Adam Jocelyn up top.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be off of turn 2 here, Ryan. And keep an eye on this. Jocelyn didn't go all the way, go up to the wall, and Campbell wasn't expecting that, and just ends up going right into the edge of the nose there.
Yeah, Jocelyn just drove down the track, it seemed. Certainly didn't take the normal line for the high route. Maybe thought he was clear of the 25 or something to that effect, but very strange. Misjudgment, at the least you'd say there, from the 30. So we go back under caution about as quickly as we went back green. So, as the age-old adage, cautions breed cautions. Comes back out again, slowly getting towards the deciding part of this race. Only about 70 laps to go.
And Jabo finally on the lead lap here all of a sudden. I think he's been under a lap down for just about this entire race, Ryan. Car's fairly clean, too. I'm surprised he has been this far back in the field all race long in the SPG machine.
Yeah, Botello been struggling, but finally now gets it all hooked up. And back onto the lead lap. His highest spot in this race, 22nd. Finds himself now back in a spot where he can gain a whole lot more. See how he goes when we go back.
Yeah, curious to see what the speed's going to be in his race car here, but that was a very intriguing start, though, because that really shuffled the top 5. Lion and Ray were in the perfect conditions there on that green flag. All of that late response just allowed a lot of the cars to shuffle position. A lot of the Nexus cars lost track position from that. Guys like Timo Toyota took absolute advantage of it. And Ryan, at this point, though, it's a caution-precaution type of race, have to say, though, with how many cautions we have had at this point of the event.
Yeah, certainly been one of those races. I mean, we almost expected it coming into Bristol. It's very difficult to have a race that runs green, especially when it's an official race in iRacing. Even at this top split, I mean, there's so much varying levels of pace and practice time put in. You got to expect it. I mean, something like the Coca-Cola series, you know what level everyone's at. You know the guys you're racing against, but people out there turning up for the first time that some of these people may have seen, you've got people there been there all season long. It's just one of those things when you come official racing at Bristol. You do get some fantastic races, and it has been a fantastic race despite the cautions. It's going to continue. When we get ourselves back underway, Lion gets us going. A good start from Malik up top. We do set, not quite as good from third as we've seen others do so. He might have an opportunity to squeeze up to the top side of the racetrack there. And he does manage to get himself up top.
Yeah, and everybody trying to go for a gold rush up to that line at this point. But again, that's been the tempo. Toyota now, the biggest dropper, and if I'm mains, you have to find a hole. Unfortunately, the puzzle piece isn't going to fit if he goes right in next to Honeycutt now.
Oh, mains! Big snap of oversteer coming off the corner, went right down to the bottom of the track, goes straight up to the top side. Try and prevent losing spots, but a crash occurs. As a result, couple cars go around. Caution comes out again. All started way back with the big slide from mains.
Yeah, and Mains found a hold back to the top side, but then just off the corner exit. Keep an eye right here on the slide first off. This is what that led in part to what we've seen here. We know how these drivers are struggling on cold tires on the bottom line, bottom to bottom. Ends up finding a hole behind his teammate Cookson. And then right behind him, though, that's Patrick Moose, who just ends up not even letting up and just trying to give him a shot. And Keister gets collected in the process.
Yeah, moving up to the top side of the track there for Mains, plus a bit of hot temp in his tyres from the sideways action. Checked up the field and unfortunately caused that incident. Another one of those things. Caution's out again. Lap 186 of 250. Slowly getting towards the latter stages. That's our 12th caution of the day so far.
Yeah, this has gotten very, very interesting, but at this point, if you're a Lion, you're in a great spot. You're smiling right now as long as you don't get a shot from the back end or any type of trouble with lap traffic or incidents. You're in the popcorn seat, or the celebration seat, rather, for this event at this point. If you're Ray, you're hoping for some type of luck or some type of strategy call in the pits here, because at this point, it might come down to strategy, Ryan.
Exactly. And if we do get 20, 30 laps green here, will put us very close towards the final stint of the race. and strategy would be very interesting down on pit road. Because at that point, Justin, do you stay out knowing your tyres are rolled? Yes, but there's a very high likelihood of cautions till the end. Or do you pit, hope enough people come with you that the fresh tyres will easily overcome the few that stay out on old?
That's a tough question, because from this point, if you get or run more than 10 laps, I think you still see most of the field take 4 tires, but under 30 laps to go when you have that same situation, that's where the question, I think, more comes into line, because you're probably thinking it's going to become caution, break caution in the mid to back portion of the field, and that's where, if you take 2 or stay out, that's where the advantage is. The downside is, though, massive risk for tire spin. For example, Denny Hamlin and Parker Kligerman just today ended up causing a massive one in official racing competition today in a fixed race and crashed most of the field. Do you want to be the driver that causes it if you don't have a setup that is capable of handling being on 10, 20 lap old tires on a restart? That's something you have to think about, and if you're fast enough to even hold on to the track position for long enough to take the checkered.
That would have been an interesting conversation if anyone had a go at Hamlin or Kligerman for causing that crash. Wonder how the reaction would have differed to if someone else had caused that crash. So, final lap of the caution period here. We'll go back green for the 13th time, including the start of the race. Harrison Lyon, almost for the 13th time, will lead us to it. Green flag back in the air at Bristol, and a great start for the top 2. Very congested from 3rd on back, though.
Yeah, now a good start for the top 2, and everyone quickly able to cycle to the top side, 4th on back like we've seen much of this race. The problem is, though, now, Morgan and Toyota again are stuck on the bottom side, and this is not good as Garbo gets stuck in the wall.
Got up into the fence, comes back down off it, right in front of Caden Honeycutt there as well, trying to find a way by his Toyota. He's got to make this move sick, otherwise he's going backwards. Quite some margin as Yarbrough gets a bit sideways up top. Bit of reprieve for Toyota. He'll hold on to the inside there for a little bit longer. There's a gap, but it's not quite big enough. Honeycutt gets to the outside of him now.
And Honeycutt currently on that recovery drive, remember, from his penalty before. Looked like he wasn't expecting what was happening with Toyka side by side, but look at this still. Right behind him, Seth Knoll. He's fighting hard after finding a brand new nose in the garage area.
Malik Ray's just run the fastest lap of the race, knocked off by Doucette. So, lap time starting to tumble as everyone pushes their car towards the limit now. As this race winds towards its conclusion, 55 to go as we come across the stripe here. Everyone putting in new PBs and fastest purple laps in this one.
Yeah, this is getting pretty intriguing. Again, we talked about this a little bit to see if Ray can find any way to get by Lyon. He's still committed to that middle to bottom line, which again might work out in the long run, but in the short term, he's sacrificing the time for now and hoping that he can reel back in Lyon in about 5-10 minutes from now.
Look at Yarbrough trying to get by, pulls a slide job on Devin Morgan, but Morgan comes right back at him on the bottom of the track. Will he try the slider up? Yeah, he's going to move right back up in front of Yarbrough. Yarbrough going to try to come back at him. Gets back to the inside. They switch once again. He can't quite clear Morgan there. Here comes Honeycutt, 3 wide. Down the front straight away. Honeycutt to the bottom. Takes the spot away from Yarbrough. But Morgan still the best slide up top.
What an aggressive move from Honeycutt there. I haven't seen those types of moves from him in a while, but as you've seen, it didn't quite work. I think he's faster than Morgan and Yarbrough at the moment. The problem is, he just can't get back to the top line to try and go for momentum to try and make the pass back.
No, exactly right. Now he slots in behind Austin Yarbrough, right in front of Timu Toyka. He'll have to try again at this move. Yarbrough himself has got a lot more pace, it seems, than Devin Morgan. Morgan might have thrown a block there down into the corner as Yarbrough tried to find a way to the inside. Fastest car lines up third in this line. Second fastest is second in line. Slowest is at the head of it, checking up a bunch of guys. Toyka and Garrett Maines behind as well. So how long can Devin Morgan hold on as Honeycutt has a little look at Yarborough? He's not going to have enough, though, as Chris James runs side by side further afield as well, back in 12th place. Now banked up 13th.
Still stuck side by side, though, with Jabo on that bottom side. And the Genix racing cars have shown they've had good short run speed before at the short tracks. He's one of the best drivers in that organization. And again, he has that preferred top line. So I think for James, as long as he can try and get Jabo to let off the gas or try and pinch him down just a little bit off one of these corners, it might set him up that time, though, way too up the track.
Honeycutt and Yarborough almost banging doors as well in their battle. Further up, just in front of these guys. Honeycutt's got a lot of pace on the bottom of the track. He just can't quite get himself clear of Yarborough. Half a car length ahead of him coming through there that time by. If he throws it in hard enough, he might be able to slide up in front of Yarborough. See if he goes for it here. Tries it, does it. And Toyota gets to the bottom of Yarborough, which is perfect for Honeycutt because it stops him from coming back at him.
Yeah, I think at that point, Honeycutt is quicker right now than Yarborough and some of these other drivers. He's definitely quicker than Morgan. I think at this point, if you've got a much quicker car, the bottom line, you can make it work on corner entry to corner apex because you're able to carry more speed all the way to the exit and more momentum, which is important with these race cars in 2020. But if you can't, you're going to have to dodge trouble.
Great save from Devin Morgan, assisted a bit by the fence as he went sideways there. Will stay green. Honeycutt will go through. Yarborough now going to give another shot to the back of Morgan, who's getting beat up out there now as Toyka's on his inside. He's really struggling for pace, and oh, they wrecked behind. I think that was Garrett Maines, and it is. Yellow flag's out.
And that is teammate to teammate scenario there, and that's going to lead to this discussion, I think, within that organization. But really, it just was caused by Yarborough there, Ryan, just tapping up against the outside wall. Unfortunately, his teammate Maines was right behind him as he tried to keep the car straight into the corner entry of 3.
Yeah, and got into the fence, and yeah, really unfortunate for Maines. Very quick caution. He didn't actually get very... He didn't spin, did he? Just got a bit loose.
Yeah, got it locked up just in time, and if you lock it up properly, you can have it swing from being sideways to back straight forward, and as long as you don't spin the tires, you can keep the momentum going. Remember, as long as you keep a minimal pit road or pace car speed, rather, in those types of scenarios, you get to keep your track position. If you spin around the whole way or come to a stop, that's where you have to let people go.
100%. So, everyone comes down into pits for some fresh boots, some fresh rubber. 38 to go. A few stayed out. But now they come down to pit lane. So the race off pit road should be won by Harrison Lyon if history proves to be true, and it is. Lyon, Ray, and comes Doucette in 3rd.
So the field basically has gone into a decent rhythm, at least, with how the pit cycle is going. But now we're approaching that window we just talked about, Ryan, where if we get some short runs from here, that's where the strategy can go wide open. I expect a lot of drivers to potentially stay out at least for the next couple cautions if we get them. But I can see a lot of others who are, say, 15th or 10th, take 2 tires if they go and have a lot of cars pit, and then gain track position that way and hope there's another quick yellow and they keep the position and so forth. So how this race plays out is now up to the drivers. If they can keep it clean, this could be an exciting race to the finish. If we have a caution-precaution scenario, it becomes a strategy game.
Which is still exciting. And don't forget, we've got 3 green-white checkered attempts up our sleeves as well, should we need them. I have a feeling we might need one of them at least. Michael Jeans will get a wave around 2. He stayed out to get that. He's currently a single lap down, so he'll get back on the lead lap here. Next car a lap down, only car a lap down, then when we go back green is Kyle Crump. 10 laps adrift. 23 cars on the lead lap then.
Yeah, this has been an intriguing race throughout this entire night so far here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Honestly, my personally favorite racetrack, even with some of the attrition
Yeah.
rates, but the best, and the cleanest cars in the field have migrated their way to the front all night.
Harrison Lyon down on the bottom, Malik Ray up top. Who gets the jump? As we go back green, and a good restart for Malik Ray up top. He stays to the outside of Lyon through 1 and 2. Can he keep the nose there? Lyon's able to clear him down low as Doucette almost into the side of Matheson behind.
That was the exact start Ray needed to have to keep it side by side. He just couldn't carry the momentum, but now he's back side by side and making the bottom side work as they continue to fight behind him.
To the bottom of Lyon for the lead of the race. Can't quite get there at the moment. Still almost the nose there. Now he has to slot back in line. And you really got to feel that he's got the pace, but he can't find a way by. Yarborough really slow out there on the track. He's gone way back to 21st in this one, losing a lot of time and positions out there as finally everyone seems to sort themselves out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, in the case of Yarborough, he got stuck up against the safer barrier on the outside wall, but everybody else is starting to finally get into a rhythm at least a little bit here. The fight, I think, to watch again, though, is Ray versus Lyon to see if Ray can find any way to make a pass by that Roush Fenway racing machine up in front, because Lyon has put on an absolute clinic, leading the majority of the laps tonight.
Roush Fenway Racing versus Joe Gibbs Racing up front. Gonna have to wait, though, because the caution's back on track, and that is Justin Levine carrying a minimal damage. Austin Yarborough as well, potentially involved with that. He's down on pit lane. If he was, we'll get a look at the replay here, thanks to better simulation.
Yeah, and Jose Solis is the car who ends up helping him finish the job and getting loose after Levine had trouble off of turn number 2. You're going to see this right in a moment. He's loose the first time around. That forces him to the bottom. Jabo watches as he goes right around, and then,
ooh,
what is McKissick doing there?
Straight into the back of, there's this Solis Jr. there, and did not seem to check up at all. We're right on board with the number 7 Chevy Camaro riding through 1 and 2. He sees sideways in front and never checks up.
Yeah, he never lifted. He ran to the back end of Jose at 119 miles an hour. He was picking up speed as they were wrecking in front of him. Very intriguing decision there, as now he's got no front end. But on the bright side, Yarborough has a chance to fix some damage and get some fresh tires after he got stuck in the wall at the start of the last run.
So, we'll have to try again to get this one green to the end. That's our 14th portion of the day. It's been very much a race of attrition. Surprising almost to see there's still 20-odd cars on the lead lap of this one. That was Yarborough coming down to pit road as they wrecked in front. But this is very much a powerhouse battle between Lyon and Ray up front. Roush Fenway driver Harrison Lyon in the Coca-Cola Series. Joe Gibbs Racing driver Malik Ray in the Coca-Cola Series alongside him. Then you've got Jake Matheson behind him third. You've got an ARCA Series driver in Honeycutt in fourth. It's a very talented top 4 we've got here.
Now, remember, we talked to Honeycutt after the last race at Texas about the strengths of his team and organization and how it's always been one of his best tracks. He was one of the guys looking forward to Bristol Motor Speedway. And we've seen why with how good the Nexus cars have been. A lot of them have been cycling in and out throughout the top 5 all night long tonight, Ryan.
Yeah, there's been some very interesting tales in this field so far. Guys like Lyon have set up front all race. Ray's come through the field multiple times. Honeycutt's had to fight. Tweaker is slowly picking up spots from 28th at the start. He's up into 6th place now. It's the highest he's been in this one. Devin Morgan seems to have been involved in so many battles. He's up inside the top 10, as is Justin Botello now.
Yeah,
Someone we haven't spoken about, sorry, is Pedro Mega. He's had a quiet race up from 34th to 15th. That's a great drive.
Yeah, that's an amazing drive for Pedro from what I've seen performance-wise, but it's a matter of keeping the car clean. That's been one of the trouble spots for that driver to the 33 machine throughout some of these races. He's done his job so far, just needs to make sure he's not too aggressive here and keeps a good finish.
Green flag back in the air. There it is. Ray tried to judge that start. Got it a bit wrong, so Lion will clear him down into Warren to a better restart for him than it was last time. Honeycutt trying to hold third on the outside of Matheson. Toyka behind up into 5th place now. And he might make that 4th because Matheson's stuck on the bottom. Toyka trying to drive it around the outside of him. Matheson will find the gap up top though and move himself back into 4th.
And everyone's just running the same top line once again. As to be expected, if you find an opportunity to get up top, you have to take it. And that's just, I think, at this point, these drivers want to make sure they get into a good rhythm before they attack, knowing it's near money time, it's near points paying time. If they take an over-aggressive move and either don't have it happen, as in complete the pass, or end up having trouble like Toyka, you potentially are going to lose a lot of spots.
Oh, Doucette with trouble with Toyka there. Hard into the fence. Still trying to keep it out. Now he spins in front of a few cars and around he goes. Caution's out. And that one was a crash that seemed to be happening for quite some time.
Yeah,
finally, the caution comes out.
There were 2 different incidents there. I'm surprised the caution didn't come out for the first one, it looked like. Because we had trouble at the back end of the field. We'll take a look from the angles of Tanner Love here in 20th position because McKissick lost grip in turn 2 and really stacked everybody up.
Oh, yes. Wow. Indeed. And then Doucette up into the fence in front of Toyka and eventually spins around. That was a shame for Toyka. Nothing he could do there, but he's lost a bunch of spots as a result of that. He's back in 10th place now. And he was up in 4th for a moment.
And it almost looked like a chain reaction situation there with the terms of Doucette there. Where Doucette, you seen him a little bit snap up the racetrack, Ryan? Right up to the fence, and that's where Toyka had no time to react. And now, for Doucette, one of the top drivers in the Road to Pro Championship standings coming into tonight. 4th in those ranks in the Gator's Outdoor and RV Trucks. He's now in trouble in the NIS competition here.
Of course, top 20 in Road to Pro book their spot into the Pro Series through the off-season. Top 20 in Pro go into the main game for next year. So, very much the road to $300,000 there. Who knows what the prize pool will be next year. One can dream that it might be even bigger with such the exposure esports is getting this year. And the addition of Coca-Cola as a title sponsor. Tag Heuer as well, of course, to the Porsche Esports Super Cup. It's been a great year for esports. It's only going to get better than anyone can imagine. It's NIS, not going anywhere. This race, this has often been regarded as the premier public series that anyone can join into. The top split often seems to be full of drivers that dabble in some world championships.
Yeah, Ryan, this is for a lot of drivers, including the professionals in some cases, their fun time, so to speak. Their chance to relax and try and have fun on the racetrack. And some of these competitors, when the racing's been great and exciting for some of the pros, you can hear it in some of their voices how exciting the race is for them. Tonight, I think Lion and Ray are having some fun now that they are 1-2 here, trying to figure out who can come away with this race.
They're formed up, but we're not going green on this lap. Really want this to go green to the end here, because I want to see this fight between Lion and Ray, because it could be An absolute grandstand finish here at the Coliseum. If those two get side by side, no one is going to lift between them. With just 15 to go as we go back green, you cannot afford to make a mistake. You can't afford to give someone that quarter of an inch to give them the spot or avoid a bit of contact. You've got to go for it. This is when you put all your cards out on the table and show your hand. Hope you've got the best hand in the field. As the pace car will dive down out of turn number 4 in the hands of Harrison Lyon. Green flag back in the air. Can Malik Gray keep that car to the outside? Through 1 and 2, throws it into the corner. Honeycutt behind will slide up into 3rd. Lyon clears him out of 2. What has Ray got in response then?
Yeah, the start was decent, but there's trouble behind him. They're wrecking.
Seth Knoll goes around Chris James, Tanner Love, Jose Solis Jr., a whole bunch of cars involved in the latest caution. And they can't keep it straight in the late stages of this race. Motor Simulation will show us what happened here.
Yeah, and there was a lot of calamity in that portion of the field. Love was just a bystander of what was happening in front of him. The real trouble was 7th on forward because Jabel was trying to avoid a car in the wall. Maines was trying to go side by side, not expecting no in the wall, and then everybody else just piled in.
It looked like there were 3 wide there.
Yeah, they were. That's what really caused that there with Maines not knowing that that would be 3 wide there with what happened here. And there was another incident right before that where you seen Morgan at the bottom of the racetrack. He ended up running into one of the commitment cones at the bottom of the racetrack in his troubles.
What happened to Morgan then through 1 and 2? And, what? Maybe he tried to come to pit lane and got it a bit wrong.
I think he just lost the back end in that situation and just got loose there. It's lucky that he didn't smack into the barrels there.
Yeah, that would have brought out the caution a bit earlier than it did. If he had got into those barrels, that car would have come to an abrupt halt. Going to be under 10 to go. We go back green here.
Yeah, and I think Lyon's in a great spot here as long as he doesn't make any mistakes here or has too much tire spin. Now we're at a situation where I don't think you pit at all. You risk the old tires at this point. Whatever tires you have on the race car, whatever track position you have, you're staying on the circuit right now.
100%. And just seen someone has racked up too many incident points out there, which earns you a disqualification. Easy to do on a short track. Who was it that picked it up? Might have been Tanner Love. It was a spotter that was complaining about it, so makes it difficult to find out who it was, but Tanner Love's out of the race, so that's a shame for him. He will cop a retirement after being very unfortunate with the amount of incidents he's been involved in today.
Yeah, indeed, Tanner Love parked his car. His spotter, Justin Brown, already off the pit box at this point at the top of the spotter stand round there on this racetrack. But there's still many spotters that are trying to help each other out here at this point, watching all of this happen. Yeah, and they've been important tonight, Ryan, all night long. Not just for keeping an eye on where you are, but the ones who also have setup knowledge to help make adjustments for your race car with whatever they're struggling with, because that is one of the main keys. In some cases, Ryan, some of the spotters you see, I know for Legacy Esports they do this, that's the pairings that they like to try and build chemistry with for Road to Pro competition. You want to build that in all the teams, I think, to make sure you're on the same point, whether it's a cup car, a truck, any type of vehicle on the service.
100%. And these spotters, they're pretty damn good drivers, some of them. Jarrett Liebert is spotting for Will Norton. Liebert won earlier in the season. We've got, who else? I saw Vicente Salas is spotting for Garrett Maines. He's been in top split. Boyd Hogan's spotting people as well. Just known as Harrison Lyon in YouTube chat. Keep your eyes on the track, buddy. You've got to hold off Malik Ray here for the lead of the race. Let's see if he can do what he reckons. That Malik's getting close to timing his starts. Well, let's see if he times it here. Ray's trying. Green flag back in the air. Good start for Harrison Lyon. And Honeycutt going to get to the bottom side of Malik Ray. This is dream start for Harrison then, because he's got the margin back to second, and they're fighting for second place. Malik does not want to let Honeycutt take it away. They're losing a bunch of time going side by side here. Honeycutt, try as he may, can't quite do it. Malik gets back up, clear in second, but he's lost about 4/10 of a second to your race leader.
Yeah, that's a little frustrating here, but for Ray, he might be able to close it up if he puts in a couple good laps here. The problem is, Lyon just had the fastest lap of the race in the 14.5s.
4/10 of a second, now the margin between them, first to second, across the line. That time, it increases by a little bit. So I think Lyon might be good if this stays green. Honeycutt still putting the pressure on. Malik here for second place in this one. Under 5 laps to go. It's 4 to go now.
Yeah, 3 to go here at this point, and Lyon is absolutely checking out. He is the quickest car inside the top 5. All setting sail, just needs to hope it stays green for at least another half mile.
If he makes it back to the start-finish line, they'll come back to the checkers no matter what happens out there on the racetrack. White flag in the air at Bristol Motor Speedway. Harrison Lyon with a half a second advantage. Back to Malik Ray, who gets sideways. Honeycutt gets to his inside. The battle for second will come down to the wire. Out front, the win for Harrison Lyon at Bristol. Fantastic drive for him, and he deserved that one well and truly.
And Lyon just put on an absolute clinic and a half once again. He led a majority of the laps, even when he didn't have clean air. He was the fastest car on this circuit, especially in the first 20, 30 laps of a run. My goodness, what a race car tonight.
Doing his victory donuts there, down on the start-finish straight in front of a legion of virtual fans. He had not had that race his way. Did not have it all his way at all, because he had to fend off so many restarts and attacks off those restarts. I think he restarted from the lead over 10 times on that race. Not a scratch on that car, apart from the blown engine he's just incurred.
Yeah, and he is one of the few drivers really in this field who didn't pick up a single incident point. Only him in this entire grid had that mark in this race, unless you were a spotter. Just an absolute picture-perfect race for Lyon.
Certainly was. Let's go through the full results then from Bristol. Margin of victory in the end, it was 0.8 of a second. Deciding factor might have been the third place man, Honeycutt, getting to the inside of Ray on that final restart. He came home third. Matheson was fourth ahead of Garrett Maines. Tweaker coming home a very respectable 6th place. Cookson and Botello 7th and 8th. Seth Knoll and Justin Levine rounded out that top 10.
11th position tonight went to Joshua Campbell, the dynamic auto sports machine, able to survive some of the bumps early on in this event. Pedro Migo with one of his best runs. I've seen him in a while in 12th position tonight. Kept the car clean. He finished in front of Jared Mogart. Austin Yarborough recovered a 14th after losing the lap at one point. Josh won 15th, with Chris James in 16th. Ryan Doucette came home 17th. Westwood Pistol in 18th. Rounding up the drivers, the lead lap was Michael Jeans. Devin Morgan finished 2 laps down in 20th.
Rest of the results will cycle through on your screen, because we're going to talk to our race winner today, Harrison Lyon. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You didn't have it all your way there. You had to fend off an almost uncountable number of restarts there from the lead. You were a bit worried about Malik Ray at some points in that one.
Yeah, these restarts are really tough with the banking here at Bristol. If you go later, there's a lot of wheel spin into it, so that's kind of your best point at this track, is to try and see if you can beat the guy on wheel spin rather than just matting the gas as hard as you can. So I had to wait late on these restarts and just hope that he didn't time it right, and it was pretty close a few times. I was definitely holding my breath there.
And do you feel if Malik had gotten out in front of you, do you think you had the pace to run with him? Do you think maybe he might have been a bit quicker but bottled in behind? what was your mindset in regards to that lead of the race if you lost it? How are you going to get it back?
Definitely. The Malik and me are on the same set each week, so we're the same speed everywhere. So if he was out front, I probably wouldn't have been able to get around him with how close we are on speed. We would have needed like a long run or something to try and see if I could get him on tires or something, or even like a pit stop or something. It's just so close each week.
It was a fantastic battle between you, and well, you started on pole and you came back without a scratch on that car, which is almost impossible at a track like Bristol. So many incidents throughout the field as well. Up front, the racing looks to be very, very good and respectable, though.
Yeah, definitely. It was clean racing up front. Everyone are pretty good friends with each other and teammates up front, so it's a lot of respect with everyone, and I think that's why the top 10 went pretty clean the whole night. It seemed like once you get farther back in the pack, there's definitely roughing some feathers up, but up front we all stay clean for each other.
Certainly did a good job racing up there, putting on a show, and you got those green flag runs in. Next week's an off week for NIS, which is a shame. So we've got a 2-week break here before we come back at Richmond, I believe we're going to next. Good track for you?
Yeah, definitely. Richmond's a pretty good track. I've had some wins there, so I do look forward to it. I just enjoy mainly short tracks, and with the new low downforce package, it's been a lot of fun. So
certainly has been a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully we get to talk to you after the next race at Richmond. And before we let you go, who are the sponsors and the people you want to give a shout?
yeah, definitely everyone at Dead Zone for making the set every week. These things are fast and a lot of fun to drive. So Houston and Dust, Gonzo too on Tuesday nights for spotting for me, of course. I never usually get the interviews on Tuesday nights, so I definitely want to thank him. My teammates for racing me clean, like Malik, and you guys for doing the broadcast. Of course, it's fun to do these and have it broadcasted on Friday nights.
Man, it's fun to call them. You guys put on one heck of a show week in, week out. Hopefully you hang around for the rest of the season. Thanks for talking to us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
It was your race winner, Harrison Lyon, and Justin Prince standing by with Garrett, man.
Yes, Garrett had some interesting moments today. At one point was up as high as one of the top positions in this race. Garrett, how would you describe your race tonight, Bristol?
Literally up and down. Like we went from, I think we started 10th. We got our way up to the lead, led a few laps, and then car kind of fell off there. And I think that was like the main thing of the night. Like we had to carve the short run, but as soon as we got into long runs, like just there were two teams out there that just kind of blew our doors off in the long run. That was the biggest thing. Just I wasn't expecting to have that fall off, and there was really nothing I could do to defend it. Like we just got trained. It didn't matter where I went. Like if I went to the low side, I just sped up the process. But like once we kind of settled in, I think it was around 8th place. Like stuff just started getting really hairy in front of me, and I got collected in one of the incidents. Like coming off the corner, a guy hit the wall in front of me, and I had absolutely nowhere to go. Got very lucky to miss the inside wall. Almost died there, but just honestly had a very lucky recovery there. Just everything was right in front of me, like unavoidable incidents that like I just squeaked by. It was crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot of craziness at some points for you in this race tonight. You touched upon it a little bit with the racing. How did you feel the racing was overall here at Bristol tonight? It looked very difficult to pass in the first 20 laps of a run.
I don't even think people were trying to pass. Like there was a pretty well understood like boundary of you're not gonna get to pass. I really miss like the old Bristol where I think it was 2018 where we were legitimately ripping the bottom. Like we ran the bottom. I want to say RTP was sort of like that last year, but it was much more drastic earlier in the year. It may have been spring. I really missed that. That was where you could really pass, multi-groove, go where you want. But right now, you just kind of have to ride around the top, wait for people to burn their stuff up. And if they don't do that, then you kind of sit and duck. Like if the person behind you wants to push, well, that sucks for you because now you got to defend them. If the guy in front of you wants to save, it makes it even worse because you can't get ahead of the guy that's trying to save, or he'll just turn the jets on and you'll get trained. But you're kind of stuck in that just weird box where nobody can really do anything.
How about we talk about something positive? Richmond Raceway is coming up, and that's a part of your development team that you're a part of. Your thoughts on Richmond?
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to that. I got a little bit of work I got to do on it, but I feel pretty comfortable at that track. It's definitely one I'll have to learn with the new tire model. Just all the low speed tracks, just it's so different. But it should be a lot of fun. Definitely going to be a lot more passing there than you saw this week. I think it came down to strategy and just missing wrecks and being right place, right time this week. And definitely looking forward to getting into a series where you can make much more moves.
Anyone you want to thank for being a part of your top 5 performance tonight in that 2 machine?
Well, I got to thank everybody over at Legacy Esports, Bobby Dale, Andy DeLay. We got to thank Butt Kicker. Also want to thank Boyd Hogan and Michael Smith for all the work they've been doing on the setups. It's been a huge help, and it makes it so much better just racing on here, knowing you have people behind you that are able to really put together a good car, and everybody's able to go out and run well. It's been a lot of fun, so hopefully we can keep that momentum going for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Congratulations to the top 5 finish tonight, Garrett.
Thanks, sir.
That was Garrett Maines coming home in 5th tonight, a +5 from the drop of the green flag. Back to you, Ryan.
Oh, that was a very caution-filled race, but in the end, it was a pretty good battle towards the end for those leading front few spots. And typical short track racing today, wasn't it? A lot of contact, a lot of tempers flaring at times, but in the end, there was some pretty good action out there.
Absolutely, there was some good racing there and some great performances. Yes, it was difficult to pass, but once everyone settled down on the long runs, I think we've seen really the differences in how the drivers and their teams built the race cars, and that is where the beauty of the sport and beauty of short track racing came in a little bit there here at Bristol Motor Speedway tonight. A heck of a performance. Once again, have to give a shout out to Lyon, though. 73 led laps tonight.
Yeah, he drove a fantastic race out front. Can he replicate it next round at short track once again? We're going to Richmond in 2 weeks' time. It's an off week next week, but still plenty of action for Sim Speed TV. Make sure you like and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network and to the Sim Speed YouTube channel as well. On Monday, the Monday night strength of field for the supercars, they've received an update that makes them feel like gold when you're driving them. Go and check that out. Plus, on Tuesday, on SimSpeed, if you like watching pro drivers absolutely launch it up the inside of absolutely anyone and everyone, go check out Just Send It on the Just Send It Facebook page, because that is pros and sim drivers all in one race, having fun, sending it up the inside of absolutely every corner you can think of. Plus, plenty more to come, so make sure you stay tuned and subscribe for all of that. But for tonight, from myself, Ryan Jones, and from Justin Prince alongside of me, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes as ever, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?